Operation Overlord, the ticking clock of D-Day. We've got a lot of ground to cover, so let's jump right into this explainer.
152,800. I really want you to just picture that number for a second. That is the sheer, staggering scale of the Allied airborne and infantry troops throwing themselves across the English Channel in a single day. Their one massive goal? To finally crack Hitler's Fortress Europe. So we're going to look at exactly how the largest seaborne invasion in human history actually went down. It took insane mechanical precision, a literal masterclass in deception, and just sheer raw grit. Grasping the magnitude of this ticking clock matters to all of us today, because this wasn't just another battle, it was absolutely the hinge of the 20th century.
Part 1. The Second Front. Breaking the grip on Europe.
Okay, let's set the stage. By mid-1943, the clock was basically at 1 minute to midnight. Hitler had a chokehold on almost all of mainland Europe. Over in the east, Soviet leader Joseph Stalin was absolutely furious, demanding that the US and Britain open a second front. So, at the Tehran Conference, the Big Three, that's Roosevelt, Churchill, and Stalin, agreed to launch a massive cross-channel invasion by May 1944, because without stepping in directly, German military dominance could have lasted for years.
Part 2. Planning Operation Overlord. The impossible logistics.
Supreme Commander Dwight D. Eisenhower was staring down a total logistical nightmare. I mean, how do you move an entire fully mechanized army across the ocean? The brutal math here is wild. They needed an armada of 500 naval vessels and 3,000 landing craft, and they targeted a stretched-out landing area along the Normandy coast, carving it up into 5 specific beachheads: Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juneau, and Sword.
And that initial wave? That was really just the tip of the spear. Eventually, a massive coalition of 39 Allied divisions would be thrown into the Battle of Normandy. We're talking over 1 million troops across American, British, Canadian, French, and Polish forces. But here's the kicker. All this overwhelming power meant absolutely nothing if the Germans figured out where and when they were coming.
Part 3. The Master Deception. Operation Bodyguard and the Resistance.
They absolutely had to trick German Field Marshal Erwin Rommel into keeping his panzer divisions far away from Normandy. To sell this massive lie, 2/3 of the Allied bombs were dropped completely outside the invasion zone. Meanwhile, top-secret ultra-intelligence was busy decoding enemy radio traffic just to confirm the Germans were taking the bait. Oh, and get this, they even had the BBC broadcasting snippets of French poetry over the radio. These were secret codes that signaled the French resistance to go out in the dead of night, blow up train tracks, and cut underground phone cables. Talk about high stakes, right?
Part 4. Storming the Beaches. June 6, 1944.
So terrible weather almost delayed the whole thing by weeks. But spotting a tiny, brief clearing, Eisenhower gave that famous, simple order. Okay, we'll go. The synchronization was just unbelievable. Right at midnight, over 23,000 paratroopers dropped into pitch darkness to secure the flanks. At 5 a.m., massive naval guns started hammering the German coastal defenses, and finally, at 6:30 a.m. on the dot, the landing craft ramps dropped and the infantry hit the sand. Now, while some beaches saw slightly lighter resistance, the U.S. 1st Division walked into absolute hell at Omaha Beach. Americans had to wade ashore through this lethal, crazy maze of underwater mines, wooden stakes, and jagged metal barricades. And the whole time, they are taking withering machine gun fire from elite German infantry dug in at the top of steep bluffs. For hours, honestly, it looked like the landing in Omaha was going to fail completely.
It was really only through desperate, on-the-ground leadership that the troops finally pushed inland. But the cost? It was just staggering. Even though they managed to secure all 5 beachheads by the end of the day, the Allies suffered over 10,000 casualties, more than 4,400 confirmed dead. D-Day was a success for sure, but the blood spilled in those first 24 hours, that was really just the beginning.
Part 5. Breaking the stalemate. Escaping the bocage.
Because taking the beach, that was only step 1. Moving inland, the armies slammed into a totally new nightmare, the bocage, these dense, ancient French hedgerows. It was like a giant, deadly maze perfectly designed for defenders. Advancing meant vicious house-to-house urban warfare in towns like Carrington. They literally had to reduce historic towns to rubble just to link the American beachheads together. This brutal stalemate dragged on until late July, when they launched Operation Cobra. Basically, by drawing German tanks away toward the British and Canadian sectors, the Americans found a weak spot. A massive concentrated air attack blasted a hole right through the enemy lines. This allowed U.S. tanks, led by General George S. Patton, to just pour through the gap. The dam finally broke, and the Allies were suddenly racing toward the liberation of Paris.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to think about all of this. The sheer logistical miracle, that master deception and the massive sacrifice of June 6, 1944. How did one single, seemingly impossible day shape the modern world we actually live in today? Honestly, without it, the map of Europe and the very foundations of the free world as we know it would look entirely different right now. It is a testament to human will that we should absolutely never take for granted. Thanks for hanging out with us, and as always, stay curious.